Good evening, everyone. How's it all going? I'm aware that some people are missing the beginning of the stream, so I'm just going to talk nonsense for 30 seconds and then more nonsense for another 59 minutes and 30 seconds. So excuse me while I just pour the first one. This is the first one of the evening, although not the first of the week. It has been a mad busy week this week. So I'm afraid that last night there was a fridge full of beer and I just thought it feels like it could be a Friday. So cheers, everyone. Oh, dear me. Yes. It's nothing quite tastes as good as the first one, does it? Oh, Macaroon's got another hour to work. Yes, well, I'll be working at 8 o'clock in the morning, mate. So, you can feel smug about that then. How is everyone? How's it all going? Are we all on board by now? Have the ads kind of run their course? Oh, you're at work at 6, are you, Johnny? Dearie me, yes. Well, I'm up by then, but I'm not working quite then. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? Evening, Aussie. Who else is in? Macaroon. John's in. Ian's in. Alan. Yes, now, Dave Lewis. Yes, you had a question earlier, didn't you? I saw in the comments there in the live chat. Have I ever had an injury that's prevented me from playing the guitar? Yes, I have. Sort of. Back in 1988, just a daft little job I had after leaving college while I was kind of filling time before I, kind of got a real job, was I was that lucky guy who worked in the supermarket that had to bring all of the trolleys back in from the car park. Now, you know how bad it is trying to control one of those. Imagine about 30 of them all sort of concertinaed together. And have you ever noticed supermarket car parks? They're never level, are they? There's always kind of some sort of slope on them. So I've got about 30 of these things and they're kind of weaving all over the place like a snake. Essentially, I think it was this finger on this hand got trapped between two trolleys as the kind of snake jackknifed a bit, and I broke this finger. So I had these two fingers kind of strapped together for about, I don't know, however many weeks it was. So I couldn't play guitar, or so I thought. But then I taught myself to play slide. I didn't even have a slide at the time, but I reckoned I could fit one on there and learn to play slide. So I got, I believe it was the bottleneck, as in a bottleneck, from, does anybody remember that hideous 80s drink? I think it was called Taboo or something. Anyway, it had a straight neck on the bottle. And I borrowed a glass cutter. And with a glass cutter and a blowtorch, I managed to make my first ever slide, and I just kind of heated up and cut it, and it then kind of emery papered it down and until it was smooth, and taught myself to play slide. So I probably have got round to it eventually at some point, but that was the impetus that it gave me. No, it wasn't Tesco's, mate. It was in the Lake District. It was a chain of supermarkets in the northwest of England called Booths, where I used to work. I was working in the Windermere branch. Oh, you got your crowning file, did you, Macaroon? Yep. Be brave. Taboo was bowling, man. Yes, it was. Yeah, your first slide was off a bottle. Yeah, Booths is the Northern Waitrose. Yes, it was. It was. You definitely needed money to shop there, but fortunately, as a member of staff, I got a discount. Got me staff discount, which kind of made it more economical. The thing is, it was the nearest supermarket, and it was like in a more expensive bus fare to go and kind of shop at the Fine Fair that was in Kendal at the time. So, yes. Evening all, late again. It's an age thing. Evening, Colin. How are you, mate? A bloke I used to know made his slides from Corona bottlenecks. Yeah, I've heard that as well. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did hear a story that Joe Walsh used to use the glass bottle that a certain brand of painkillers, like a branded version of paracetamol or something, came in. And then he heard they were switching to glass bottles, and he went to his local pharmacy to buy up all of the remaining glass bottles there. But so I don't know if that's true or not, but it's the kind of thing you hope is true. I'm fine, thank you, Colin. I'm fine, mate. I don't know if you saw the video yesterday, and Dan's probably going to be on the stream at some point tonight, but my guitar is arriving on the 8th of November, so that's 2 weeks on Sunday. My signature model guitar. I'm trying not to be too excited because I'll just not sleep otherwise, But it's like I'm like a kid before Christmas. This many sleeps, that many sleeps, until I get the new guitar. I once had a slide made of a bottleneck, but it was authentic. But it was Harvey's Bristol Cream bottle, so it was very middle class. You got those middle class blues, yes. Been trying to find some Grolsch strap locks, the ones that come with a free beer. Can't find them anywhere. You can find them on eBay. These are the ones I use. They're not off the Grolsch bottle, but they are the same kind of thing. And these kind of things. I've got like a bunch of them, but they're just so obvious. The thing is with the kind of Dunlop strap locks, which I've used before, they're fine until the little spring in the mechanism loses its kind of welly, and then they're not very secure at all, I find. Harley Benton has new tellies, Aussie. Fair enough. What gauge of strings am I putting on the guitar? 10 to 46. That's what gauge of strings I use on all guitars, regardless of scale length. I don't know. It's just, perhaps it's because I'm a bit scatterbrained, and if I had different gauges of strings for different guitars, I'd forget which gauge went on which guitar. But I just, I accept the fact that a 10 gauge set of strings will feel stiffer and tighter on a Fender scale length than it does on a shorter scale length, and that's just part and parcel of playing the guitar. I don't mind the fact that a Telecaster feels more tensiony than like me Gordon Smith, so it just doesn't bother me. I'm thinking about getting a new guitar in between a Les Paul Special with 2 humbuckers or a Harley Benton around the same price, 150 quid. What would you recommend? Well, you're probably talking about if you're a Les Paul Special with 2 humbuckers, that's going to be the Epiphone. That, for that sort of money, will have the bolt on neck, won't it? And they're not bad guitars, and they're just not bad guitars. Those Epiphone Les Paul Specials. But for me, if it was my money, I'd be getting the Harley Benton, because I just think you're getting more guitar for your money. Ever suffered with tendinitis? I'm really struggling with it. Yes, I did. This was back in the early 90s, when I had a lot of bad playing habits. I'll show you what it was that gave me tendinitis. This isn't plugging them like that, using that finger and overstretching with my little finger, and that was what I think caused it for me. And my elbow got all swollen and I had to go and have it syringed. It wasn't pretty at all. Looking for recommendations for a good cheap flanger pedal. We'll do the Van Halen Unchained. Don't know. I mean, never really been fond of that effect. I don't dislike it, but never been fond enough of it to go out and buy a pedal that specifically does that. When I've used it, it's just been part of what I had in the Tone Lab or as a plug-in or something, or it's been in some multi-effects or something. I've never really kind of been a flanger aficionado. But I'm sure Dan Electro probably do one as part of their Fab range of pedals. I think they are, and, all of the ones of that range of pedals that I've tried sounded really good. So that would be a good place to start looking, I guess. What gave me tendinitis, Tim? It was doing stretchy scales. That's the correct way of doing it when you got a span across 4 frets. I was doing it with that finger there and then reaching up with my little finger, and that's what kind of caused it for me, I think. As soon as I corrected the technique, it sort of, and it never came back, basically. Hi, John. Suggestion for future vids. Great songs mode by mode. A great Lydian song, a great Mixolydian song, etc. I'm sure you're inside. Now that is a cracking idea. That is a brilliant idea, mate. Consider that on the list, on my to-do list. I usually tell you, actually, don't I, what videos are coming up this week, and I sort of got sidetracked a little bit, so I'll tell you all about that. Now, okay, tomorrow there is another cover. Do you remember a few weeks ago I did a cover of the old Glenn Miller tune, In the Mood? And that seemed to go down really well. So I thought I'd do another one. All I will tell you about tomorrow's cover version, some of you already know because we've been kind of Skyping and Zooming and what have you. But the tomorrow's video is the cover I'm doing in tomorrow's video is a tune that I used to sing in school assemblies. And it's just one of those beautiful melodies that I remember from my childhood. And the same tune was also, there was also other lyrics set to it in the 90s, I believe, for the World Cup rugby. If you can kind of piece that together, but you'll find it's basically a beautiful, gorgeous melody that I've done a guitar reworking of. Then on Monday we're looking at what we're doing on Monday. Yes, Monday is a classic rock and roll solo from the 50s, absolute belter of a classic rock and roll solo, courtesy of Mr. Scotty Moore. Then on Tuesday, another one in World in Union. Yes, that's the one, Pseudo Scott. But what is the tune originally? Now there's a bit of trivia for you. What is what melody does World in Union use? Because no, not Jerusalem, Codzilla. No. Hello, Chains. How are you, mate? Yes, then Tuesday, another one in the Why I Love This Album series of videos that I'm doing. Just kind of getting off my chest, really, about what I love talking about music, and I love kind of trying to enthuse people with the, why I love this music and maybe turn other people onto it. So we're doing another one of those videos. Another album from the early 90s that is very guitar orientated, but it's not at all an indulgent kind of shredfest guitar album like arguably The Extremist was that we looked at last week. Then on Wednesday, a video which I've been threatening to do for a while on basically what to do when you get your first guitar and you don't know any chords and you don't know any chord shapes and you don't know anything about the guitar. Basically, this video that's happening on Wednesday will be, yes, indeed, Gustav Holst Planets, Malcolm, but which one? This video on Wednesday will be the, how to get you kind of tuning your guitar and playing your first chord and playing your first piece of music. There you go, Malcolm. Jupiter from the planets. Yes. Then Thursday, again, it's fantasy guitar shopping. We are looking at, I haven't quite decided yet. I've done Strats, I've done Les Pauls, I've done Telecasters. So those are the big three, aren't they? I'm probably going to go with kind of thin line semi-acoustics. I bet there's some kind of silly money you can pay for an artisan kind of high-end one of those. And then on Friday, we're back on the beer again, as always. Now, yes, SGs. Now, there's one. I don't know. It's the SG is overlooked quite often, isn't it? Because you tend to think Strat, Les Paul, Telecaster. You know, those are the big three. But the SG is. Am I right in thinking it's the only guitar that Gibson have made that's been in constant production ever since it first came out? I think I heard that somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. Great songs in the Locrian mode, shortest video ever. Yes. I've never, ever found a song in the Locrian mode. It's just, to me, it's... I don't know. I mean, what's his name? Jake Lizio from Signals Music Studio was talking about it as well recently, and he comes to the same conclusion as me, that you know, the Locrian mode as a tonality just isn't really usable. You know, to kind of write in, because it's that half diminished chord minor 7 flat 5 that it's based around is so dissonant that you can't resolve to it. The video on the Extremist was great, John. I don't think there's a bad track on that album. Yeah, I've got to agree with you, Craig. A lot of people called me out on for not mentioning Motorcycle Driver on that album. It's a great track. It's just, for me, it's like that whole album undulates between absolutely stellar and very good. Okay, so that's where it kind of fluctuates between. And Motorcycle Driver is kind of very good, and everything else is sort of stellar. Did anyone watch that program the other day, Hendrix and Handel? No, I didn't. I know that the house that Hendrix lived in London, that the blue plaque said that Handel lived there. I seem to remember. Want to build a telly with a P90? What do you have in beer time? I beg your pardon. Want to build a telly with a neck P90? What do you have in beer time? I'm not sure I understand what you mean there, mate. Yeah, Jake is very cool. When I get a chance to watch YouTube videos, which isn't a lot these days because I am just so busy, and long may it stay that way. But whenever I get a notification that he's got a video up, I do try and find time to watch it. No, the Simpsons theme tune isn't in Locrian, Johnny. That's in the Lydian dominant scale, or Lydian dominant mode, which is the fourth mode of the melodic minor scale. Was thinking of a home recording setup. How much would I need to spend? Very little, Dave. Obviously, you've already got a PC or a laptop or something like that. Download Reaper. That's free for 60 days to evaluate, and then it's like about 70 quid for a couple of years or thereabouts. And the interface that I use, the Behringer Euphoria, is about 30, 40 quid, something like that, less if you buy one used. And then there are ample free plugins out there that you can use to create, kind of drum tracks and amp sims and stuff. Get yourself Blue Cat free amp. Get yourself the Mercurial Tube Screamer plugin. And you've got clean and dirty sounds, and, I record with it all the time. So which brand P90? Wilkinson. That's what I've got in my beer o'clock Telecaster. Let's turn the laptop around that you can see there. That's a Wilkinson P90, and it absolutely sings, as you will hear tomorrow on the video I'm putting up tomorrow. Yes, Phil, I immediately know the mode of the Simpsons theme tune. Yes. Yeah, I need to get out the house a little bit more, don't I? Yeah, Reaper is really super easy to use. And the great thing about Reaper is that because so many people use it, there are millions of tutorials on how to do just about everything you need to do on Reaper. Yeah, your Reaper has been evaluated for 4 years. You keep clicking the still evaluating button, do you? I mean, I was watching this on Glenn Fricker's channel, actually, and he was saying that the people behind Reaper were the same people that developed Winamp in the 90s, and then they sold that to one of the big tech firms, and was sitting basically amid the foothills of a huge mountain range of money. So they just thought, well, we need something to kind of fill our time with, and let's build a DAW that kind of rivals Pro Tools, but is easy to use and is kind of affordable. And that's who developed Reaper. So I evaluated for longer than the 60 days, I've got to tell you, but I ended up thinking this is just, I should pay for this because it's me living and I'm using it all the time. So I did. Randy just came by. Hello, my brother John from Southern Illinois. Peace. Well, hello from Redcar, mate. The land of, as this evening it turns out, flat beer. And I don't know what's causing this. We've just switched to a different washing up liquid in our house, so maybe that's left some residue on the glass. It still tastes fine though. Evening, Steve. Yeah, I'm with you on the SG. It's the thing with an SG is you're either an SG player or you're not. And once it's a bit like a flying V. Once you acclimatise, it feels normal. But for me, when I go down to a bottom end kind of E chord or something like that, it feels like I'm kind of reaching into the next room for the chord or something. Hi John, have you tried the Yamaha RevStar or the Spark Positive Grid? I haven't, mate. I keep thinking about a Yamaha RevStar, but it's just getting my hands on one at the moment, and I've come to a bit of a decision about the Spark Positive Grid. I'm not getting one. I was umming and ahhing about whether to get one, to buy one with my own money, that is, and it just seemed like loads of features, loads of great stuff on it, but I would be paying quite a lot of money for a lot of the stuff on it that I wouldn't be using. Hi, John. I was wondering if you use a noise gate in your pedal chain, will a boost pedal compensate for the loss of sustain you get from the noise gate? No, because basically, when the note starts dying away and the noise starts creeping in and your signal to noise ratio kind of starts doing that, where the noise starts getting louder, it'll start cutting off. I mean, the guy to really ask about that is Steve Hoggart. He's the studio guru, but that's just my experience. I find that the noise gate actually that I've started using a lot when I'm recording is just the built-in gate in Guitar Rig. When I'm going for the more high gain sounds, I find that tends to be better than, or for me, as not exactly a studio kind of wizard, I find that the noise gate in Guitar Rig that I use as a plugin in Reaper, just kind of it's not as kind of on off as the I always seem to find the built-in gate in Reaper. So How does Carlos Santana get so much sustain? I think the fact that he has, Paul Reed Smith building his guitars for him and, Randall Smith building his boogie amps for him might have something to do with it, basically. Yeah, Reaper's noise reduction refer is great. Another little trick that I sometimes do, and it's a bit of a workaround. I mean, you couldn't do this live, obviously, as I'll explain as I go through it. But what I often do is I will export a very noisy guitar track from Reaper just as a WAV file, import that into Audacity, and then the noise reduction plugin in Audacity is great for getting rid of noise. And then I re-import the WAV file after it's been doctored in Audacity back into Reaper, and it's free of noise then. I got the money to buy a more expensive telly, but I can't justify spending it on Fender. My Harley Benton is doing such a good job. Yeah, they are great guitars, those. I think you've got was it the TE40 you've got, Ozzy? Great little guitars. If you're in the market for an expensive or kind of boutique Telecaster style guitar, may I just mention the Scott Guitars John Robson signature model. Doesn't Carlos have a Dumble, or is that a wizard? I don't know. I mean, Carlos, he can play whatever he wants, but last time I heard, Carlos was using boogies. TE70, okay, yeah, the TE70. I always get the... this is the thing with guitars these days. A lot of them have, kind of alphanumeric names, kind of model numbers, and I lose track of them. I long for the days when guitars just had names that you could remember. Evening, Steve. How are you, mate? So everyone who said to use a drill press after 4 cans and an old power drill, holes were drilled. Good for you, Deco, mate. It can be done. It can be done. It's just about accurate measuring and, having a steady hand, really. How's the new lockdown rules affecting you and yours up there? It's not really affecting me at all, I'll be honest with you, Dave. I wear a mask when I go into shops. I don't tend to kind of go to pubs. I much prefer to just kind of sit and drink with the missus or with you lads in the comfort of my own home. I can still have people coming to the house for guitar lessons because there are exemptions for education and training and for work, which essentially covers me. So it's not really affecting me at all, to be honest. Carlos Santana, is he using a compressor sustainer to get it too? I don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. One of the videos that I keep meaning to watch is the Premier Guitar Santana rig rundown. So that might be an idea to watch that, and just search for it on YouTube. You'll come across it. But it looks like it's a fairly long video, and again, it's like, have I got half an hour to spare to sit and watch a YouTube video? Oh no, I've got a deadline to meet for this video to do for myself or whatever. Sold all my D guitars, just got 2 Harley Bentons, my old made in Mexico Strat. Love my TE70 Black Paisley. Yeah, I do like the finish on that Black Paisley guitar. I've had the Black Paisley Strat and the Black Paisley Telly in here for review, and they were both excellent guitars, and they do look really, really good in the flesh, I've got to say. Can I be in your bubble? It's a bit of a leading question, isn't it? We've actually got a friend visiting us for Christmas, and he's fairly recently divorced, and he's in our kind of household bubble, so he's allowed to come and stay with us. Cascading gain for Carlos Tone. That's the big deal with the original Mesa Boogie. Yeah. Back when I was a student of electronics, back in the 80s, I learned all about cascading gain circuits and had to build a couple of them. And that was a long, long time ago, though. I'd be lying if I said I could remember much about the technicalities of it. I use a 1966 Yamaha SG5A Flying Samurai. Anybody know anything about them? Well, you've got me beat there, Malcolm. I can't say I do, mate. It's the only oddball Yamaha guitar I've had in here is the Yamaha YSG, which was kind of a Yamaha model. I think was only available in Japan. What do you think of baritone guitars? I keep thinking about getting one, Robin, actually. But it would be a guitar I would use so infrequently that it's like, is it going to be worth a few £100 to get a decent one? Or even, like, I'm sure Harley Benton do a kind of a one that's reasonably cheap, but it's like, is it really something that I need and I'm going to use that much? Possibly not. But then again, I thought that about buying an acoustic guitar. And, I use it all the time now. Just great little tip. If you're recording a kind of a chunky classic rock power chord part, double it up on an acoustic guitar, and it really does give it like a really fat kind of sound. Evening, Peter, mate. How are you? What do you think about 12 strings? Again, I love the sound of a 12 string, but it's not something I would use a lot. If I was to, it's just not really something I would find a lot of use for. So it's like there's always other things to spend money on. But I do love the sound of a 12 string. When you hear it, it's a great thing to put in a mix. But what I'll often do if I want a 12 string sound is I'll just, use like the Nashville tuning on a standard tuned guitar where you've kind of got like basically the high strings off a 12 string set, and put those on a guitar, and I'll record a rhythm guitar part with that, and then pan that left, and then pan like the same rhythm guitar part, pan that right on a standard tuned guitar, and you get this big stereo kind of 12 string sound, but it's it's not done on a 12 string. How do you play a 12 string? Same as you play a 6 string, basically. It's just you're putting your fingers on a pair of strings rather than a single string. Artist TC59, any thoughts? No, because I've never played one, mate. I've been putting some feelers out for some brands of guitars that are other than the obvious ones. I think I've done just about every Harley Benton guitar that is available. So I've been onto a couple of Artist is one brand I've been contacting, and Glary is another brand I've been contacting, and SX, another brand I've been contacting to try and get some more guitars in here to review, because I've got like kind of 18,000 odd subscribers now. I reckon I've got the the kind of a necessary number of subscribers to say, look, can you send me a guitar for review, please? Tuning takes ages on 12 strings, doesn't it, just, mate? Yes. Alex Lifeson used an acoustic in the background mix a lot. I didn't know that. It was something that I first noticed on a very, very underrated album. Jeff Healey's first album was called See the Light, and I went to see him on that tour. Or was it that tour or the one after? But anyway, round about 1989, 1990. And then his second album was called Hell to Pay, and that was a great album as well. And I first noticed that sort of acoustic behind the kind of crunchy electric guitar sound on that album. And then when I started recording, I thought I'll try that, and it worked a charm. The Harley Benton guy with the afro just did a review on Jet guitars. He said the Telecaster is the best budget guitar he ever played. Well, fair enough. I'm not sure who you mean, the Harley Benton guy with the afro. The two main proponents of Harley Benton guitars, well, first of all, the guy who got me into Harley Benton guitars was Nick in the States. It was his review of Harley Benton guitar, various Harley Bentons, that made me think I should check those out. And then it was Henning Pauly who, the other review that I saw of Harley Benton guitars, and I thought there's a couple of guys who seem to know what they're talking about, who seem to like this brand of guitars, and that's what made me kind of start checking them out. Afro guy is the guitar geek. Must have passed me by, the guitar geek, I got to tell you. But thank you for the tip. I shall look him up. Yeah, Paulie is one with the afro. Yeah, me and Henning share the same barber, and Phil McKnight as well. Would you believe I used to have a mullet? Anyway. I had a Glary Strat, and it was good for 58 quid. Unbelievable. I'll tell you, the video I'm kind of series of videos I am kind of trying to keep up with at the moment is Phil McKnight kind of upgrading a Glary guitar. So far, I've seen him, refret it with stainless steel frets. And there's one there. There's a second installment that I haven't watched yet. I think Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever used Nashville tuning for 12-string sounds like Free Falling. I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me, because I think that album was produced by Jeff Lynne, wasn't it? Certainly sounds very Jeff Lynne in production, and it's that is the kind of thing that Jeff Lynne would do, isn't it? If you get the chance to see, and it's unusually it's not on YouTube, but if you get the chance to see Mr. Blue Sky, a documentary about Jeff Lynne, watch it. It is brilliant. He's such a nice guy, and it's just that the you get a real insight into his recording and his writing process. Lead on a 12-string, well, that's a laugh. Yeah, well, Roger McGuinn managed it, didn't he? Although string bending is pretty much out the window, isn't it? I must ask, what is your favourite curry? Well, my favourite curry, actually, is, at the risk of sounding smug, it's the one I make myself. I make a cracking dansak, chicken dansak from scratch. I got it from a recipe book many, many years ago, and I've adapted it a bit along the years, but it's basically the same, although it is a bit of a faff on to make. And so what I tend to do is make a batch of it and freeze it. But I've had a good month this month, touch wood. So I'm treating the missus to a proper curry tonight from the curry house, because there's something about it turning up in a foil carton, isn't there? And then not having to kind of, do the dishes afterwards. So the local curry house up here does an absolutely storming dry chicken tikka. So that's what we're having this evening. Mr. Blue Sky is one of the most cheerful tunes ever written. Yeah, does anybody else... Again, as I say, I don't get a chance to watch a lot of YouTube stuff, but when I do, one of my favorite things is watching, kind of reaction videos. Usually some millennial chap or girl or whatever listening to some classic rock stuff from the 70s and watching the reactions to it. It's it's really good. Apparently there's a Whalers tribute band on the circuit who only buy Tom home brand equipment. They're called Marley Benton. Okay, fair enough. You had me there. Okay. I was with you there, mate, and then you just kind of got it. Okay. Where are we? You're a Rogan Josh fan, are you? Yeah, I don't mind a Rogan Josh, mate. To be honest with you, the only curry I won't eat is a Bangor fowl. Because back in my younger days, I used to indulge in that Olympic sport on a Saturday night of I can eat a hotter curry than you, and I'd kind of work my way up to Madras and Vindaloo, and then the next thing on the menu after a Vindaloo is the Bangor fowl. Dear me, it was like eating napalm. Oh, never again. The Pink Floyd reaction videos are always worth a watch. Yeah, Chris Buck is a fantastic guitarist, mate, and he just seems like, I always kind of think whenever I'm watching anybody on YouTube or on telly, I always think like, would I go for a pint with this lad? And I'd go for a pint with Chris Buck. I reckon he's a canny lad. He's you could have a good natter with him. Is there too much shred nowadays? I don't know, really. I always think of, I sort of cut my teeth as a guitarist in the 80s. I started in 78. That's when I started playing. So the 80s was when I was kind of learning my trade, if you like. And the 80s was the shred decade, and very little of it left an impression on me, I've got to tell you. Gary Moore, was he a shred guitarist? I got into his music in the 80s. Joe Satriani. But apart from that, all of the kind of Malmsteen, Vai, Van Halen, all that sort of stuff, it kind of passed me by. I mean, I don't dislike it, but very, very little of it made a big, big impression on me. Is there too much? I don't know. It's there's as much as there is, and that's always been the case. I like hearing virtuoso guitar players because I'm a guitarist, but I don't like hearing virtuoso skills for the sake of it. It's a little bit like I often think shred guitarists are a little bit like kind of actors sometimes who are overacting, doing the whole kind of big gestures and all that sort of stuff. And then you look at Al Pacino in The Godfather, for example, and he's not doing a lot, but dearie me, he's captivating to watch, isn't he? And that's the kind of thing that attracts me. It's like the kind of performers where you think anybody could do that until you try doing it and you realize, oh, okay, there's real depth there. Yeah, I'm with you, Johnny. I like Vai when he plays in a band, but not so much solo. Yeah. With you 100% there, mate. I remember Vai with Frank Zappa. And that Dave Lee Roth album, Skyscraper, is just, it's going to be one of the albums I talk about in the Why I Love This Album videos. And then when Passion and Warfare came out, which wasn't his first solo album, Flexible was, but Passion and Warfare, again, it was that early 90s thing where there had to be like 20 tracks on an album to fill up the 75 minutes worth of CD space. And it felt a bit sort of directionless, and there were like ideas on there that should have, to be honest with you, ended up on the cutting room floor, but didn't, because they needed to pad the album out. But I mean, there's some good tracks on that album. Liberty, I did a cover version of that years ago. You know, the audience is listening, and For the Love of God, and, you know, quite a few good tracks on there, but it did just sort of, every track seemed to be like, you know, kind of a guitar, like a bit of a melody and then 5 minutes of guitar solo, which it sort of lost me a bit, to be honest. Ever watched Jason Reed on YouTube? Eat 'em and Smile was better than Skyscraper. Yeah, good album. But Skyscraper was the first one that I sort of got into, really, and that made the bigger impression on me, I guess. Am I into Ian McNabb? The Icicle Works, I remember him well, yes. Again, you know, the Old Grey Whistle Test, first saw them on that. Yeah, great songwriter, great guitarist. Don't know what he's up to these days. Yeah, Frank Zappa's version of Stairway to Heaven is good. I love that Jimmy Page guitar solo done by the horn section. Dave Lee Roth was the best Van Halen vocalist. Well, you know, I mean, I'm not a Van Halen aficionado, so I can't really kind of speak with any authority, but my missus loves Van Halen, and, you know, she's a Diamond Dave guy. She never really got into them, you know, with Sammy Hagar. Jeff Beck falls into the Steve Vai category, packed full of great ideas, but hum any tune of his. Now you kind of you're skating on thin ice there, because I love Jeff Beck. You know, yes, anybody that's had a career as long as his is bound to have released the odd kind of mediocre album, but Blow by Blow, that I can lose myself in that album, and it's just, you know, I mean, anybody that comes up with an album with a title of a tune called Constipated Duck, you know, you got to love them, haven't you? Where are we? Please bring back the Old Grey Whistle Test. Loved it. Okay. The Old Grey Whistle Test. This is one for you. This is a trivia question for you. Does anybody know why it was called the Old Grey Whistle Test, that TV show back from the 70s and 80s? 1 million bonus points and no cash prizes at all if you can tell me why it was called the Old Grey Whistle Test. Sensational Alex Harvey band Next Door Delilah is always good. Yes, I remember I remember that version of Delilah. I remember seeing it on a UK pop show called, what was it called? Supersonic. I remember seeing it on there, and you know, just thought, no, it wasn't Blew the Whistle to get off stage. The character used to whistle the good tunes. Because if you played a song to the Old Grey Caretaker at the BBC and he could whistle it past the Old Grey Whistle Test, nearly, Malcolm, that's nearly it. It wasn't the BBC. It was the Brill Building in New York. Basically this song factory where Neil Sedaka and Carole King and a bunch of other people used to kind of punch the clock and turn up and write songs that would be then passed on to, you know, recording artists, and it was basically a song factory. And if the doormen on that building were known as the Old Greys, and if they could whistle the tune, then it passed the Old Grey Whistle Test. So yeah, basically, you got the basic gist of it. On the subject of Jeff Beck, his tone is immaculate. Could you do a lesson on how to approximate it? Now, there's a challenge, approximating the tone of Jeff Beck. I shall have to get the that Strat copy off the wall there, because he using the trem is a big part of his sound, and you know, it's just that sort of coordination of using the trem and the wah together that characterize his sound. For me, his absolute masterpiece, that one brilliant track that he did that encapsulates his tone, isn't even on a Jeff Beck album. It's you know, when Jools Holland was releasing these kind of collaboration albums like Big Band Small World, like with a bunch of guest artists, Jeff Beck plays on there, and he does a version of Ray Charles's Drowning My Own Tears. And for me, that is just Jeff at his just, you know, kind of full powers. It's incredible to listen to. So check out Jeff Beck with Jools Holland, Drowning My Own Tears. What is your favourite Deep Purple lineup? Mine is The Burn with David Coverdale and Hughes. Oh, now, there you go. Overall, I would say, and this is going to be sacrilege to a lot of Purple fans, but my favourite Deep Purple lineup was the Ian Pace, obviously, John Lord, Roger Glover, nothing controversial yet, Ian Gillan, and Steve Morse. That lineup on the Perpendicular album, and subsequently with Don Airey, since we sadly lost John Lord. But you know, I just think that I like the Ritchie era, and I think they peaked at Machine Head. I do like Concerto for Group and Orchestra. I like that album. Didn't when I first heard it, but it grew on me. And then Machine Head was kind of the peak of the Ritchie era. And then I just kind of, I don't know, it never really worked properly for me after that. But then, you know, kind of that Perpendicular era, when Steve Morse comes on board, and a track like Sometimes I Feel Like Screaming, I think is just one of the best songs they've ever recorded. Didn't David Attenborough have something to do with the Old Grey Whistle test? Yes, he was the controller of BBC Two at the time, and I think he commissioned it. Anyway, lads, I'm lagging behind. I've got another beer to go. Hang on. You've had me talking too much. I've been neglecting me drinking. Hi, John. Recently discovered your channel and loving it. Any chance of some more Blackmore? Well, what I'm doing with these solo analysis videos is I'm trying not to go back to the same guitarist too soon, basically. You know, I don't want to just become the guy who only talks about his favourite guitar players. I could just kind of sit here and do Gary Moore, Eric Clapton, Mark Knopfler, kind of, you know, in an endless repeat. But I've done Ritchie Blackmore recently. There will be more Ritchie coming up. But it won't be until we've kind of been round the houses a little bit and come back to him. Would love a bit more Gilmore analysis. Again, Steve, yes, there will be. But as I say, I did the Comfortably Numb outro solo recently, and I want to kind of, you know, kind of go around a few other players before I come back to the beginning of the circle again. Yeah, House of Blue Light, great album. Yeah, got to tell you. Whispering Bob, now there's a fellow like to have a chin with over a pint or two. Indeed, Peter. Yes. Yes, I bet he's got some stories to tell as well. Yeah, Glenn Hughes in Trapeze. Now, I only discovered them through Sea of Tranquility, another great channel to watch on YouTube. And Pete on Sea of Tranquility is always talking about them, so I decided to check them out, and very, very impressed. Saw Rick Beato go on a rant about blockers on YouTube. Has this ever happened to you? No, I've never had a video blocked, but I have had videos that have been demonetized because somebody else claims the copyright on like the recent Richie Blackmore video I did. That was demonetized because obviously I'm taking somebody else's music. I mean, there is a fair use kind of argument that I could use, but hey, it happens. It's most annoying when it happens when I did like a beginner's guide to playing blues, and I just improvised a solo over a 12-bar blues chord sequence, and that got demonetized because some publishing house somewhere said that they owned the copyright on this improvised solo that I'd done. But you know what? I take the rough with the smooth. There are videos that I've done which are solo analysis and stuff like that where they don't get demonetized. So I treat it as a bonus when they don't, basically. YouTube has decimated my channel. Oh, I lost 100 subscribers this month. I've had enough. I'm sorry to hear that, Ozzy. I really am. Let's help Ozzy out. If you haven't checked out Ozzy's channel, then go and subscribe. He's a cracking guitarist, plays really, really well, and does some very, very good cover kind of videos and stuff, and plays some great stuff on his videos. Go and check him out. Ozzy, post the link to your channel either in this live chat or in the comments afterwards, and let's get you a few more subscribers back, mate. First saw Richie Blackmore when he was playing in Lords Such as Savages. Obviously breathtaking. Such was terrible, but to be fair, his band's usually fantastic. Yeah, I got drunk with Screaming Lords Such many, many years ago. A mate of mine was a gig promoter, and he put him on. He hired Middlesbrough Town Hall and put him on there. One night, it was in the run up to an election. He always used to kind of stand as a candidate for the Monster Raving Loony Party, and this was kind of a cash in on the election, basically. And I got drunk. I got so drunk with Lord Such in the bar afterwards. Deary me. Seemed like a nice guy though. It's because they watch less than 1 minute of the video, then the algorithm wipes them. Oh, dear me, Ozzy. Deary me. It happens to me. I notice I get emails all the time from people who say that they've been unsubscribed to the channel, to my channel, without without unsubscribing. It's just, I don't know what's going on, but it is what it is. No worries, Ozzy. Anything I can do, mate. Anything I can do to help. Jeff Beck was my guitar teacher from 1972 after I sorted out the clutch on his lovely Super Models Orange VW. I did well. Good for you. There's a bit of a claim to fame, Dave. Nice one. I can also lay claim to the fact that I was Jeff Beck's guitar teacher. I'm serious. I had a bloke coming to me called Jeff Beck. Not the Jeff Beck, but he was called Jeff Beck. And when he first rang me up for lessons, he was a bit embarrassed. He says, "Well, if I tell you my name, you're going to think I'm taking the mick." I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Well, Jeff Beck." Fair enough. So I guess with a name like that, you've got to learn to play the guitar, haven't you? Yes, John Otway, baby, that's really cool. John Robson was my guitar teacher during the lockdown and beyond 2020. You don't listen to a word he says, Steve. I know him well, and he's he don't take him seriously. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Ozzy. I know what you're saying, and you know, all I can say is that, I mean, from 2008, I started posting videos on YouTube, and from 2008 to 2018, I had about 200, 300 subscribers. And then I just did a video it was the video about the fact that the Strat that Fender won't let you own. And I wasn't expecting any kind of reaction from it. I was just kind of, for me, YouTube was just me letting off steam a bit. And suddenly that video just kind of took off. And I got, you know, I got the channel that I've got now. And so it's a case of if you find the right video, if you happen to stumble across the right kind of thing that gets you views, then it will go from there. But it's roulette, basically. My claim to fame is Eric Clapton's second cousin, twice removed, knew the guy that ran over our cat. Well, fair enough, mate. Anyway, chaps, we've been going over an hour now, and I'm down to my last beer, and the rest of them are down in the fridge downstairs, and I've got a curry turning up. Thank you so much, Mikhail. Salary day, so time for a little contribution to your favourite charity. That will be, I've got a video coming up very soon, because a lot of people a couple of weeks ago did a very generous donation to Zoe's Place. You know, that money's going to be coming through in the next week or so. So I'm going to do a video where I show you me donating to that. So, you know, when this comes through, which will probably be on next month's payment, I will do a similar video donating that. So thank you so much. Anyway, as I was saying, chaps, I'm going to wrap things up now because I'm starting to feel a bit peckish. The curry's on its way, and I need some more beer. So thank you once again, everyone, for turning up. It has been an absolute blast, as always. Make sure you watch tomorrow's video and all the ones that are coming up this week. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.